Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Pataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Pataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Doomed to Hell. A twin-stick roguelike shooter. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Gear Gonfi, Doomed to Hell released to multiple platforms in March of 2022. Now, recently on the Nintendo Switch eShop, this version popped up from publisher Cubite Interactive, and honestly, I'm not sure if there's any difference between them, but I felt that this title was an appropriate title for the time of the year. Happy Halloween. So, with that said, my thoughts on the game, it's a twin-stick shooter that's got a solid base, but just fails a little bit on the execution. So overall, a mediocre title at best. Though I have enjoyed my time with it overall, there's been some frustrating moments with it. With all that said, the price point is good, so it's not necessarily a bad one to pick up if you're looking for something that's got a little bit of that, like, demons, like hell kind of vibe going on for the season. So diving into the game itself, when you start the game, the menus are relatively bare bones. There's not much options, you really just have the choice of play. Once we select that, if it's your first time, you will be dropped into the tutorial, which is basically teaches you the basics of the game itself, but this is a twin-stick shoot-'em-up. It's really straightforward. We aim with like the right stick, and we fire with the right shoulder button. We also have a dodge roll, and once you get other weapons, you can swap between those, and that's what we're looking at here. So the game is wave-based. Every, like, at the end of every wave, we get the option of 3 temporary upgrades, and this is one problem I have with the game. So these upgrades are temporary. We get them for the remainder of the stage that we're on, which lasts 5 waves. And that's the first issue I have with the game. Why make these like stats temporary? Some of them are really good, like stat upgrades, but if you're only going to have them throughout the course of your stage, then it kind of defeats a lot of the purpose. If the matter was like balancing, just tweak the values a little bit, and then you could have the benefits be permanent rather than just like these temporary ones we get. There are a couple places throughout the game where you have the option to increase your strength on a permanent basis. There's a shop that comes up every 5 waves, and after every 20 waves, so basically at the end of each stage, biome area, you will encounter a boss, and the upgrades after a boss are permanent. But that actually only happens twice in the game. Enemies do drop coins, and there are treasure chests throughout and crates throughout the course of a stage as well. So I'm glad I have the opportunity to talk about this. Among the 3 temporary buffs you can pick up, there is one buff that's not temporary, and that's the money. This one just gives you straight up 100 credit to use in the store, and if this ever pops up, unless you really need the life or you're on a stage trying to build up for a boss, I recommend grabbing this, as the option to buy more in the shop will be worth far, far more than any temporary buff that might last, in this case, another 2 waves. And the gameplay kind of continues in this loop for quite a while. One thing I do really like about the game is the pixel art. So you can see that there's a whole bunch of super cute demon characters, including our own. So this is our character, Rossi here. He died a premature death and was like sent to hell, but like story-wise, like hell, I guess, is like super overpopulated. So the devil has this great idea that he's basically going to pit everybody in this battle royale, and whoever comes out on top, whoever survives, is gets to return to their life and see among the land of the living. So naturally, like being somebody that died a premature death and still had stuff to do in their life, we find ourselves fighting all these denizens of hell and the monsters with the intent of returning to Earth. Bats suck, by the way. Take them out quickly. So we've completed 5 waves and we find ourselves in the shop. So this is Toby, the shopkeeper. Green demon cat. Super cute. Got in trouble last wave? Time to relax from some attacks. At least I don't go around killing myself in this hell, literally. So we've got 4 upgrades we can get, and actually this is a pretty solid shop. So there are some melee weapons, like basically swords, and you can get this upgrade here. This hilt will increase the sword damage. Then we've got the choice between a shotgun and this submachine gun. So rapid fire in this game is always better in my opinion, so we're going to take the submachine gun. Why is that? The enemies that you encounter will be stunned by your attacks temporarily. So say like a bat, for example, is about to attack. If you hit it with one of your attacks, they're not going to be able to fire. So the more attacks you can dish out, the better off you're going to be. There's also this box of shells, basically, that's a permanent gun damage increase. We definitely want that. Once you're done buying, you just head up to the top and back into another 5 waves. Unfortunately, there's no permanent increases throughout the course of the game, so unlike a lot of these twin-stick roguelites, we're not going to be unlocking anything throughout the course of our ways or gameplay. Then there was just that that problem that I was mentioning with the way the buffs are. Also, it doesn't feel like the game is terribly optimized for the Switch. Especially when you begin a wave that has a lot of grass and crates there, things are pretty framey until those obstacles are removed. Let's see, upgrades here. We could upgrade our attack speed, we can increase our life temporarily, or we can get temporary knockback. In this case, although we're using the submachine gun with super high attack, just a little bit, or super high attack speed rather, we'll go with just a tad more DPS. And as far as weapons are concerned, the only 2 options we have right now that you didn't see in the shop were swords. And there are a couple variants of swords. One's a weaker one, one's a stronger one. Of course, if the stronger one comes up, that's what you'd want to go with. The downside with those is the range, although sizable, is like a still close range. So once you get past the first 20 waves, once you beat the first boss, you do get a couple additional items stocked in the shop, as well as upgrades of what we currently have. So it's worth deciding what you like if you get to that point, and really, the gateway here, I feel, is getting past the first biome. Well, if you've managed that, the rest of the game is relatively easy by comparison. But the first section here does feel a bit of a slog just based off of what we get for upgrades. And a lot of that is just just comes to straight up down to RNG. So there you have it, Doomed to Hell. As far as the minus flavors are concerned, I really kind of wonder why they went with temporary buffs between the rounds rather than just finding some way to balance the values with making those buffs permanent, and then having better buffs available after defeating a boss or in the shop itself. That would have made it a lot funner in my mind, as you would have been building things up throughout the course of a run rather than just waiting for those few points to truly build your character. And then I also wish there was a bit more variety in the shop, just a few more weapon types that felt unique, because really at this point it feels like we're just upgrading our pistol and trading it out. We still actually do have the pistol, but trading it out for a weapon with a faster rate of fire, and then throughout the course of our remaining upgrades, basically looking to just upgrade that with the new version that's available in the shop once we hit a new biome. And with only being 3 biomes, there's not much variety there. But with that said, I do feel that the game has a decent base present. There's enough here to be interesting, and if with just a few tweaks, I feel like this could be a really solid game. As is, it just kind of comes across as middle of the run and a little mediocre. One thing, but as far as the plus flavors are concerned, the game has beautiful pixel art. I really dig the art style, the direction, just like the lines on everything. It comes across super cute. And although I do have complaints about the title, the price point is really good, so you're not out a whole lot if this is one you want to check out. And there you have it. Doomed to Hell served up for your enjoyment. Ultimately, this is one that I consider to be mediocre with like some glimmer of promise that it just doesn't live up to. Alright, I want to thank you so much for joining me this week, as always. I hope you yourself have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.